A tall man in a crisp military uniform stepped into the light. His red beret folded perfectly over one ear. "I think I can be of help with that," he said, surprising everyone but the doctor and River. "Brigadier!" the doctor exclaimed warmly. "Thank you for coming," he told his old friend. Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart looked at the young man wearing the old-style clothes with a bow tie. "Doctor, I presume?" he inquired. When the doctor nodded, the brigadier strode over and shook his old friend's hands. "You should know by now that whenever you call, I shall be there, barring death, of course," he told the alien sternly. The doctor gestured towards the odd family reunion. "First off, I would like to introduce you to someone very special to me. Hermione Granger," he stated, and pointed to the baby. The young woman who looked like she was in her late teens, and the woman who looked to be in her 40s. The way the doctor had said it made the edge of the brigadier's mouth turn up. He had known the doctor for many, many years, and he had never heard that particular type of affection in his voice before. The brigadier stepped forward and shook hands with first Hermione and then River. "It is a pleasure to meet you," he told them. He leaned down and stroked a bit of the baby's hair. "From what I gather, the three of you are the same person? Just at different points in your timeline?" he asked the two that could speak. Hermione and River nodded. "Amazing. Just like the Fates from mythology. The maiden, he started to say before the doctor interrupted him. "If I were you, I wouldn't finish that sentence. At least not if you want to walk out of here with two good legs," the doctor warned. He had no desire to see how Hermione would react to being referred to as the mother, and he definitely didn't want to see how River would take to being called the crone.
"You know me so well, my love,"
River told the doctor, reading his expression. The use of "my love" confirmed what the brigadier had been thinking, but it still made him arch an eyebrow. Wanting to change the subject, the doctor reached over and turned the brigadier to face Amy and Rory. "Brigadier, are you familiar with the stories about the Pandorica?" he inquired. The brigadier had known the doctor far too long to be caught off guard by the seemingly random question. "The Pandorica is a level 7 trans-dimensional artifact," he replied. "Actually, by your standards, it would be classified as a level 9, but you seem to have the idea," the doctor corrected. He pointed to Rory proudly. "I would like to introduce you to Rory, the last Centurion, a man who waited nearly 2,000 years for his wife. He also managed to make the entire 12th Cyber Legion involuntarily expel their used oil when forced to deal with him," he proclaimed. Rory looked embarrassed to have the doctor praise him like that. "Let's be fair, Doctor. You were the one who taught me how to set up the charged particle relay that destroyed most of their fleet," he countered. "Moving on," the doctor said, and put his arm around Amy's shoulder. "And this, old friend, is the woman special enough for the last Centurion to wait all that time," he explained. "Oh, and she was also the one who made it possible for us to reboot the universe after it collapsed back on itself," he added proudly. A moment passed while the brigadier let that information sink in. The doctor had called him out of the blue and asked if he had any jobs available for a pair of his companions who needed to spend time on Earth raising their daughter. The brigadier never suspected they would be so special. They actually sounded like the perfect candidate for a pet project he wanted to get off the ground. The bastards over at the Torchwood Institute had been getting to the scene of alien events before UNIT was able to far too often. What UNIT needed was its own covert team of operatives that could be mobilized much faster than regular troops. The doctor saw the wheels turning in the brigadier's head. "Do they fit the bill for covert operatives, Brigadier?" he pressed. The brigadier kept his face neutral, even though the doctor had managed to surprise him by mentioning what he was thinking. "Very much so," he replied. "We will have to come up with cover identities for them," he went on. "Any suggestions, Doctor?" he requested. Amy cocked her head to the side while she thought.
"How about dentists? No one would ever suspect a dentist of leading a second life as an alien hunter,"
she proposed. Rory thought the idea was sound except for one part. "No one will ever believe you're a dentist," he pointed out to Amy. She responded by stepping on his foot. Rory stifled a yell of pain, not wanting to wake the baby. He turned a pained face towards the brigadier. "Dentists sound wonderful," he said through clenched teeth. "Wonderful! We can head back to my estate for the evening and draw up the rest of our plans in the morning, he suggested. While the doctor was talking to her mother, Hermione gave River a close visual inspection. She was fairly happy with how she looked later in life. One thing did stand out, however, as Hermione looked from River's chest to her own.
Do I get some work done in the future?
She asked her older self. River looked like the cat that swallowed the canary. She leaned in towards Hermione slightly and winked.
Spoilers,
she warned, and then went back to watching her lover talk with her parents. The doctor started to pace back and forth. I'm forgetting something, he muttered. With a snap of his fingers, he spun around to face the group. Paper! I need paper and something to write with, he told them. Their brigadier reached into his uniform coat and pulled out a notebook and pen. Will this do? He inquired. The doctor snatched the notebook and pen from the brigadier's hand and examined it closely. He held it to the front of his face and turned it slightly to look at the paper in a different light. Perfect, thank you, he said absently. The doctor wrote out the 2 sets of spatial temporal coordinates Amy had given him onto the paper. He tore the page out of the notebook and returned the notebook to the brigadier. Handing the page to Amy, the doctor ordered, Give this to me when the time is right. Amy shifted the baby so she could take the paper and then looked up at the doctor, sorrow in her eyes.
We won't be seeing you again for quite a while, will we? She asked softly.
The doctor smiled at her and looked over at Hermione. 16 years, give or take a few months, he replied. Amy closed her eyes, forcing the thought of being without the doctor for so long out of her mind. Rory stepped forward and grabbed the doctor's arm in a Roman-style handshake. 16 years, then, doctor, he told his friend. Rory placed his arm around Amy and led her towards the door where he assumed the brigadier had come in. The brigadier nodded to the doctor. Until next time, old friend, he said warmly, and then went to follow the Grangers. After those staying in that particular decade left, the doctor looked at River. Hello, sweetie. That's a code, isn't it? He inquired. River flashed him a warm smile.
Of course it is,
she replied.
I use it to tell when you are in your timeline,
she explained, referencing their first real kiss. So, what's next for you? The doctor asked River. River reached forward and brushed his cheek.
As much as I would love to relive this wonderful time at the beginning of our relationship, I should probably let the younger me enjoy it instead, she told him.
Without warning, River wrapped her arms around the doctor and gave him a passionate kiss, which the doctor returned with equal passion. When she was done, River stepped back and looked at Hermione, who was glaring daggers at her.
I forgot how jealous I get when I watch me kiss you,
she laughed, addressing the doctor. Hermione stomped her foot in anger and grabbed the doctor, spinning him to face her. She threw her arms around the doctor's neck and tried to kiss him with as much passion as River had, just to even the score with herself. While Hermione wasn't as practiced as River, the doctor still enjoyed it immensely. River saw the involuntary grin on the doctor's face.
Don't get any ideas, sweetie,
she warned the doctor.
We found out the Blinovitch limitation effect does apply to me,
she explained. When she saw he was about to ask a question, River wagged a finger at him and said,
Spoilers, dear.
She looked at him with a sly, sexy look in her eyes.
Of course, as a Time Lord, you don't have to worry about there being more than one of you present. Just saying, she hinted, making the doctor and Hermione blush. River held up her vortex manipulator and started entering in a set of coordinates. Don't worry about me, sweetie. I have a dinner date this evening with you and Jack. It should be ever so much fun, she told him.
Before River could activate her vortex manipulator, Hermione asked,
Who's Jack?
River grinned from ear to ear.
I definitely don't want to spoil that for you. You'll find out soon enough, she teased,
and then pressed the switch on her vortex manipulator, sending her back into the 51st century.